I thought I was finally living alone. Then I heard my breathing playing back to me at 3 a.m. My name is Hannah Clark, and last year I moved into a small apartment above a laundromat in Seattle. After a messy breakup and 3 months sleeping on my sister's couch, I promised myself one thing: no more sharing a place with anyone. No partners, no roommates, no friends in need, just me. The building was old but newly repainted, with narrow stairs and a constant smell of detergent from the machines downstairs. My unit 3D faced the alley. The landlord, a tired guy named Ron, handed me the keys with a shrug. "Most tenants are quiet," he said, "except the guy in 3C. He works nights, audio engineer or something, keeps odd hours but never causes trouble." I signed the lease without reading it twice. It was cheap and I was desperate. That night I unpacked a mattress, a lamp, and one box of kitchen stuff. I opened the window a little and let the cold air wash out the smell of paint. For the first time in months, silence felt like safety. The first strange thing happened on my second night. I was lying in bed scrolling my phone when I heard a short, sharp sound through the wall. Click, then another. Clicky, not like pipes, not like footsteps, more like a button being pressed again and again. I told myself it was nothing. New building, new noises. I put on music quietly and fell asleep. The next morning, I met the man from 3CI was locking my door when his opened. He stepped out with a pair of big headphones around his neck and a coffee mug in his hand. Late 30s, maybe, tall, thin, with messy dark hair and tired eyes. "New neighbors," he said, smiling slightly. "You must be 3D. Hannah," I said. "You must be the audio engineer." He laughed softly. "Something like that. I'm Ethan. I do sound work. Recordings, restoration, night stuff mostly." Night stuff. The way he said it made my skin prickle just a little. We chatted for a minute. He seemed normal, calm, maybe too calm. When I mentioned the laundry noise, he nodded. "You'll get used to all the sounds," he said. "This building has a favorable memory." I didn't know what that meant, but I smiled, said goodbye, and went to my day job at a small design firm. Days passed. I worked, came home, cooked simple meals, watched shows, and tried to rebuild a life that didn't revolve around someone else. At night, I read until my eyes hurt. The sounds through the wall became part of the background: the faint hum of Ethan's speakers, the occasional click of something starting or stopping, and a low murmur like distant voices. One evening, as I was washing dishes, someone knocked on my door. I opened it to find Ethan standing there, holding a small brown package. "Mail mix-up," he said. "This was dropped at my door for H. Clark." "Oh, thanks," I said, taking it. It was my new set of phone chargers. He glanced past me into my small living room. For a split second, his eyes rested on the corner where my bed was visible. "You sleep with a lamp on?" he asked casually. "Sometimes," I said slowly. "If I'm reading." He smiled. "Warm light suits you better than blue light. You always switch it off at 1:46. I froze. "How would you know that?" He tapped the wall with one knuckle. "These old places carry sound and light patterns. You notice things when you work at night." I laughed weakly, trying to act like that wasn't weird. After he left, I shut the door, locked it twice, and closed my curtains completely. That night, I woke up gasping. The room was dark. My lamp was off. My heart thudded against my ribs, and it took me a few seconds to understand what had woken me. A sound, very soft, very close, breathing, not mine. I held my breath. The other breathing continued, slow, steady, right near my head. As if someone were lying on the floor on the other side of the wall, their face pressed to it, listening. I told myself it was the building, the heater, the wind, anything. The next day at work, I was worn out and jumpy. My coworker joked that I looked like I'd seen a ghost. I thought about telling her everything, but it sounded ridiculous in my head. "I'm fine," I lied. That evening when I came home, something new was on my doormat, a little flash drive in a clear plastic bag. No note, no label. My stomach twisted. I picked it up, turned it over in my fingers, and almost threw it away. Curiosity won. It always does. I plugged it into my laptop. There was only one file. 3D Night 1 WAV. My fingers shook as I pressed play. At first, all I heard was white noise, a low hiss, a distant rumble. Then came a familiar sound. My voice mumbling half-formed words as I drifted off to sleep. then the rustle of my sheets, then silence, and then even louder, my breathing. The recording played for almost 8 minutes. Somewhere around minute 6, I heard it, a tiny click like a recorder button. Beneath my own breathing, I heard a different breath that was almost too soft to detect. Slightly slower, slightly deeper, in sync with mine. I rip. The flash drive out and dropped it on the table like it had burnt me. Someone had recorded me sleeping, someone in this building, someone close. I went straight to Ron's unit and hammered on his door. He opened it in a stained t-shirt, surprised. "Hannah, something wrong? Do maintenance people have keys to my apartment?" I demanded. "Has anyone been inside 3D? He frowned. "No, only me, and I haven't." "Why?" I almost showed him the flash drive. Almost, but something inside me hesitated. "Nothing," I said. "I just thought I left a window open." That night I stacked a chair under my door handle. I shut my window. I pushed my dresser against the wall between my bed and Ethan's apartment like a shield. It didn't help. At 2:19 a.m. I woke up again. No noise this time, just a feeling. The kind of cold awareness that crawls up your spine. My phone's screen showed a notification I didn't remember setting. Recording saved 2:18 a.m. I hadn't opened the recording app. Hands shaking, I pressed play. First my breathing, then a faint rhythmic tap 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 like fingers on a wall, then a man's whisper so close it felt like it was inside my pillow. "Move, the sound is perfect tonight." I dropped the phone. My heart hammered so loudly I could hear it in my ears. Adrenaline took over. I grabbed my coat, my keys, and my bag and ran out into the hallway in bare feet. The corridor was empty. Ethan's door 3C was closed, with a thin line of light under it. Without thinking, I stepped closer. The tapping was louder here. It was a soft tick-tick-tick sound, similar to plastic tapping against plastic. I held my breath and listened. Under it, I heard something that made my blood run cold, my own voice. The sound of my own voice played over and over, laughing, crying, mumbling in my sleep, all mixed together in a quiet loop. I don't remember going back down the stairs. I don't remember calling a taxi to a cheap motel across town. I just remember staring at the motel ceiling until morning, unable to close my eyes. The next day I went to the police. They were polite but worn out. One officer took notes while I explained about the flash drive, the recordings, the breathing, and the whispers. "Do you have the files?" he asked. I pulled out the flash drive and opened my phone. Both were empty. The flash drive showed 0 files. My phone's recording app showed no recent audio. "Maybe you deleted them by mistake," the officer said gently. "I didn't," I whispered. Without proof, they couldn't do much. "If you feel unsafe, we recommend you stay with someone you trust," he said, "or search for another place." I didn't have money for another place. When I came back to the building, the hallway felt different, lighter somehow. Ethan's door was open. The inside of his apartment was dark. A note was taped to my door. The note contained just 3 words written in neat black ink. "Great acoustics, Hannah." Inside, nothing looked touched. No broken locks. No missing items. Only one thing had changed. My bedroom wall, the one we shared, had a new mark on it at the floor level. A small round hole, perfectly neat, the size of a coin. When I put my ear against it, there was no sound, just silence. Waiting, I moved out 3 weeks later. I sold half my stuff, broke my lease, and slept in my car for a few nights until I found a room with roommates I didn't like but needed. Sometimes, though, around 2 or 3 a.m., my phone buzzes. A new audio file appears for a second. The audio file stays visible just long enough for me to read its name. "Room Hannah Night," then it deletes itself. And if I'm very quiet, I swear I can hear it, far away but crystal clear, someone breathing in time with me, listening. My therapist said healing would start when I stopped trusting my own memories. He forgot to mention who would be writing the new ones. My name is Daniel Price, and 2 years ago my wife died in a car accident on a wet highway outside Cleveland. Every memory after that feels like a bad copy. Blurry around the edges, colors are wrong, sounds dull. Like someone printed my life again on cheaper paper. For months I barely slept. When I did, I woke up choking, seeing her face in the mirror instead of mine, hearing her voice in my own throat. People told me to get help. So I did. That was how I met Dr. Elias Rowan. His office sat on the top floor of a glass building in the business district. Not a dusty therapy room with couches and sad plants. It looked more like a clean lab, white walls, a chrome lamp, and a strange padded chair in the corner with wires coiled beside it like a sleeping snake. The plaque on the door read, Elias Rowan, MD, Trauma, Sleep Clinic and Neurotherapy. He looked normal enough. Early 50s, gray hair, soft sweater over a dress shirt, calm eyes, the kind of man you'd trust to explain complicated things in simple words. "You're not broken, Daniel," he said in our first session. "Your brain is just stuck in a loop. We'll give it better stories to play." "Better stories?" I asked. He smiled gently. "You dream every night whether you remember it or not. We're going to guide those dreams, rewrite the pain. It's called directed nocturnal therapy. Very new, very effective." I didn't care if it was new or not. I just wanted one night without waking up crying. At first, it was regular talking. I told him about Mia, my wife, how we met in college, how she laughed when she was tired, how we'd argued the morning she died. Stupid things, dishes, job applications, nothing that should be someone's last fight. He listened, took notes. Sometimes he asked strange questions. "If you could change one detail of that day," he asked once, "what would it be? The weather, the route, your words?" "My words," I said without thinking. He nodded like he already knew. After a few sessions, he suggested we start the sleep work. The padded chair in the corner turned out to be a kind of recliner. The wires connected to small round pads he placed gently on my temples and the back of my neck. A machine hummed softly by my head, screen glowing blue. "Just relax," he said. "This is low-level stimulation. It won't hurt. It may feel like falling half asleep while awake." He dimmed the lights until the room was amber and shadows. "Tell me the last dream you remember about your wife," he said softly. I described it. How I always saw the crash from outside like a movie. How I never reached the car in time. How her face always turned toward me at the last second, eyes empty, like she'd already left. As I spoke, the machine hummed louder, then settled into a steady thrum. I felt a strange heaviness behind my eyes, like I was about to sleep with them open. "Now," he said quietly, "let's change it." The next night I slept better, not perfect, but better. I still dreamt about the highway, about screeching tires, but everything blurred sooner. I woke with the taste of metal in my mouth, but no tears. Session by session, he adjusted things. Sometimes he asked me to retell the accident in different ways, from her view, from the car behind us, from the future looking back. "What if she didn't die instantly?" he asked once, almost gently. "What if there was more time?" "I don't want to think about that," I said. "But your brain already does," he replied. "That is why we must take control." Weeks passed and my dreams changed. The highway became a side street. The side street became a parking lot. The crash became a sharp turn, then just the feeling of falling, then finally nothing at all. Instead, new dreams started. In one, Mia sat in our old kitchen. Only the details were wrong. The fridge was the model from the new place, not the old one. The calendar on the wall showed dates from this year, not the year she died. In another, she stood at the foot of our bed, smiling like she always did when she came home from work, only we'd never lived in that room together. The bed frame was the one I'd bought after the funeral. "You're visiting me," I told myself. "Not just memories, something more." At the next session, I told Dr. Rowan about them. He looked pleased. "Good," he said. "Integration dreams. Your mind is accepting the edits." "Edits," I repeated. He cleared his throat. "Adjustments," he corrected. "We are softening sharp edges, rebuilding continuity." Sometimes, while we did the chair sessions, I felt like I slipped completely away for a moment. Not asleep, not awake, just gone. When I came back, a few minutes had passed. He would be standing beside me, watching the machine. "Did you say something?" I asked once. "No," he said. "You were talking in your half-sleep. It's part of the process." "What did I say?" He smiled. "We'll discuss that in time." I should have walked away then. Night everything went wrong. It was snowing. Heavy, wet flakes that muted the city and turned every streetlight into a blurred halo. I went for my usual Thursday session. The waiting room was empty, no receptionist, just the soft ticking of a clock and a faint humming behind the door. Inside his office, the chair was already reclined. The pads were laid out, the machine was on. "You look tired," he said. "I don't remember Tuesday," I said, sitting slowly. "At all, one whole day. I checked my messages. I answered people, I went to work, but I don't remember it." "That can happen when trauma lets go," he said calmly. "The brain reorganizes, space opens where pain was." He placed the pads on my skin. His hands were steady, too steady. "How many patients do you have?" I asked suddenly. "For this treatment?" He paused. "Just you," the machine hummed. The room dimmed. "Tell me about the first time you met your wife," he said softly. I started talking, but the words felt strange in my mouth, like I was reading someone else's script. "We met at a bookshop," I said. "No, that wasn't right. We met in a campus cafeteria." I knew that. I could see the ugly plastic tables, the smell of fries, and the music, but when I tried to picture it, the scene slid. The cafeteria became a quiet aisle of a bookshop with warm light and shelves. "We were in the philosophy section," I heard myself say. She dropped a book. My chest tightened. "That's not true," I whispered. His voice stayed calm. "It is now." Something cold crawled down my spine. "I don't want this," I said, trying to pull off the pads. My hands felt heavy and slow, like moving through water. The machine's hum changed pitch, lower, stronger. "You came here because you don't trust your own mind," he said softly. "You asked me to help. Pain is noisy. We're replacing it with better sound." "I never said you could change my memories," I choked. He tilted his head. "You signed the consent form, Daniel." "I signed up for sleep therapy. Sleep is just where we begin." The room blurred. My eyelids drooped. For a second I saw two of him, one by the machine, one by the door, both watching. "Why her?" I asked, fighting the weight in my limbs. "Why Mia? Why that day?" His face changed. The soft, sympathetic therapist expression fell away. Something colder looked out. "Because that's the day you're stuck in," he said. "If I own that day, I own you." The hum grew louder, then slowly faded into a kind of silence that wasn't silence at all. More like a blank page. I don't remember leaving the office. I woke up the next morning in my apartment, clothes folded in a neat pile on the chair, phone plugged in, and shoes lined up by the door. The way Mia used to do it. I went to the kitchen and stopped. She was there, standing by the counter, back turned, pouring coffee into 2 mugs. "Mia," I whispered. She turned and smiled. The same smile from my new dreams. "Perfect, soft, familiar." "Morning," she said. "You're up early." The mug in her hand had a logo on it from a cafe that opened last year, long after she died. What day is it?" I asked. She laughed gently. "You're always asking that lately." I grabbed my phone. The date on the screen meant nothing to me. It felt like reading a language I used to know. On the refrigerator, a calendar hung. Every day was filled with small notes in her handwriting. Only it wasn't hers, not quite. The letters were a little too straight, too careful, like someone had practiced them. I looked at her again, at the way she moved, at the way she sipped her drink, at the way her eyes followed me a fraction of a second too early. Like she already knew what I would do, like she'd been watching me sleep. "I need to go to my appointment," I said. "Of course," she replied. "Dr. Rowan's waiting." I didn't tell her I hadn't told her his name. Ever outside, the snow had melted. The city felt wrong, too quiet, too clean. People moved on the sidewalks like they were hitting their marks. At the glass building, the lobby was empty. The directory listed no Rowan. The top floor office door was locked. Through the small window, I saw dust-covered furniture and a dark, dead machine in the corner. The plaque was gone. When I asked the receptionist downstairs, she frowned. "That unit's been empty for months," she said. "No clinics up there." I walked back to my car like I was underwater. My phone buzzed. A new notification. "Dream report, night 23, integration successful. Subject accepts edit, no app name, no sender, just those words. Now I don't dream about the crash at all. I dream about mornings with Mia in a kitchen we never had, in a city that doesn't feel like mine. Sometimes when she thinks I'm not looking, her face goes slack, like a mask slipping. Then it snaps back into the right shape. Sometimes I catch my reflection in the window and see someone else's life in my eyes. Sometimes I wake up in the chair in his office, wires still warm against my skin. And sometimes, just before I fall asleep, I hear his voice in the Dark, close to my ear, calm and patient. Let's fix one more thing, Daniel. We can make this day better, too. I thought the security cameras were broken. Then I watched myself serving a man who didn't exist. My name is Jade Flores, and I work the night shift at a 24-hour supermarket off the highway outside El Paso. Nights used to be simple. Boring even. You clean the floors, replenish the shelves, greet truckers and exhausted nurses with a smile, and disregard intoxicated youths purchasing frozen pizza at 3 a.m., the kind of routine that makes your brain feel like it's on hold. I took the job for the higher pay and the empty aisles. I like quiet, or I did before all of this. It started on a Tuesday in November. Rain hammered the windows, turning the parking lot into a blurred mess of reflections. Only 3 cars sat outside, a red pickup, a white sedan, and my old blue Honda. Inside, it was just me, Derek the cashier, and Nina in the back doing inventory. Around 1:30 a.m., a man walked in. I remember him clearly the first time. Tall. Dark coat even though it wasn't cold. No hat, no umbrella, but his hair wasn't wet. His face was forgettable in the way that makes it worse somehow, like your mind slides off it when you try to picture it. He pushed an empty cart slowly, wheels squeaking on the clean floor. "Welcome," I said automatically. He didn't look at me. He went straight down aisle 3. I went back to stacking cans of soup. The speakers played some old song on a low volume. The fluorescent lights hummed. Minutes passed. I noticed I couldn't hear his cart anymore. I walked to the end of the aisle and peeked. He wasn't there. I checked aisle 2, aisle 4, the freezer section. Nothing. "Hey, Derek," I called toward the front. "That guy in the dark coat, did he leave already?" Derek looked up from his phone. "What guy?" "The one with the cart," I insisted. "He came in like 10 minutes ago." He shook his head. "No one has entered the room since the nurse brought the donuts." I frowned. Maybe I'd imagined him. Maybe my brain had placed some old customer into a quiet moment. The rest of the night was normal. The next night he came back, same time, same door chime, same dark coat, same empty cart. My skin prickled. This time I watched him more carefully. He walked past me. I saw his profile, ordinary, a small scar near his jaw, eyes that didn't seem to focus on anything. He turned into the cereal aisle. I waited 30 seconds, then followed. The aisle was empty. Again, a slow chill spread in my chest. "Very funny," I muttered, half expecting someone to jump out and scare me. No one did. I checked the security monitors beside the customer service desk. Greenish images of each aisle flickered in front of me. "Aisle 5, I said. "Check aisle 5. Derek switched to it. "Empty. Maybe you need coffee," he said. Maybe I needed more than that. On the third night, I was ready. When the automatic doors slid open at 1:31 a.m. and the coat stepped inside, I was already watching the cameras. "There," I said, pointing at the screen. "You see him, right?" Derek leaned closer. The monitor showed the entrance, me by the stacked carts. "The doors are opening." No one walked in. On the screen, I smiled and said, "Welcome to thin air." My mouth went dry. "I didn't hear the doors," Derek said slowly. "But you just talked." He stared at me like I'd grown another head. "I swear someone walked in," I said, heat rising in my face. "Maybe you need a night off," he suggested. Maybe I needed a new life. Things got worse from there. Sometimes I'd be facing the milk and I'd feel someone standing right behind me. When I turned, the aisle would be empty. My cart would be a little further down than I'd left it. Occasionally, the loudspeaker crackled and a voice whispered my name, low and distorted. "Jade." Once I heard it say, "You're late." Even though I wasn't, I started making mistakes. Double stocking items, dropping jars, zoning out in the middle of conversations. "Are you okay?" Nina asked one night as we sat in the break room. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "I don't know what I've seen," I admitted, "but something's wrong here." "Is this about the invisible man?" she teased, trying to lighten the mood. I didn't laugh. That weekend, a woman came in frantic, hair wet from the rain. "Have you seen my husband?" she asked, showing me a picture on her phone. "He drives nights. He said he was stopping here. He never made it home." The breath left my lungs. It was him, the dark coat. The forgettable face, the small scar on the jaw. I don't think so," I lied. Sorry, she left a missing person flyer on the counter. I shoved it under the register. That night I dreamed of the security footage, of the empty aisles, of shadows moving where no one walked. On Monday, I asked the manager to let me review older tapes. Just a random spot check, I claimed. He shrugged. Knock yourself out. I sat in the tiny office in the back, the monitor flickering in front of me, fast-forwarding days and nights. People developed streaks of color as the footage sped by. At 1:31 a.m. on a Tuesday from 3 weeks before I saw it, the doors slid open. The dark-coated man walked in. On the screen, the timestamp glitched, flickered, and then showed the same minute again. The man vanished, but something else changed. In the next frame, my own face on the screen turned toward the camera. For just a second, my eyes looked straight into it, and my mouth smiled in a way I knew I hadn't. Too wide, too slow. I ripped the headphones off and shut the monitor down. The humming of the store seemed louder than usual when I walked back out. That night, I tried a test. At 1:25 a.m., I went outside. The air was cool. The parking lot was mostly empty. I sat on the low wall near the entrance and waited. At 1:31 a.m., the doors behind me slid open with that familiar sigh triggered by nothing. Inside, the lights flickered. I felt, more than heard, someone walk past me. A cold shift in the air, a pressure in my ears. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out. A video was playing on the screen. I hadn't opened it. It showed the supermarket entrance from the inside. On the video, I watched myself standing outside on the low wall. The doors opened. The man in the coat walked in. Only on the video, as he passed me, did he turn his head and look straight into the camera, straight into me. The clip ended. I dropped the phone. I didn't go back inside. I left my apron in the trash can by the wall, got in my car, and drove until the sky started turning pink. I quit by text, blocked the store number. Started doing food delivery instead, alone in my car with the radio too loud. But the cameras never really left. Now random videos appear on my phone at 1:31 a.m. Sometimes I'm awake. Sometimes I'm not. They all show different places, gas stations, parking lots, quiet streets, and everyone I'm there somewhere in the frame. Walking, standing, looking at my phone, and everyone there's another figure near me. Sometimes closer, sometimes further away, a tall man in a dark coat. And in the last few clips, our timing has changed. He no longer appears after me. He's already there waiting. The baby monitor app said, "Live view." The problem was the room on the screen wasn't the one I was standing in. My name is Zoe Mitchell, and I used to think babysitting was easy money. You show up, play with the kid, feed them something simple, put on a movie, wait for bedtime, and scroll your phone until the parents come home. Done. That was before the Harper job. They lived in a new development on the edge of Austin. All the houses looked copy-pasted, gray, white trim, big windows, tiny yards. But theirs was nicer inside than the others. Expensive furniture, framed travel photos, and the faint smell of expensive candles. Mrs. Harper met me at the door, thin, stressed, phone in her hand. "Zoe, right? Come in," she said. "We're running late. I'll show you everything quickly." Her husband, Mark, barely looked up from tying his shoes. "Our daughter is Lily," she said as she guided me toward the stairs. "She's 3. She's already in bed. Just keep an eye on the monitor." Instead of a plastic baby monitor, she handed me her old phone. "We use an app," she explained. "It connects to the camera in her room. If she wakes, talk to her through the mic. Don't go in unless she's really upset." "Okay," I said. "Sure. One more thing," she added, lowering her voice. "If you see anything strange on the camera, lock the app and reopen it. Occasionally it glitches when the Wi-Fi drops." "What kind of strange?" I asked. She hesitated, eyes flicking toward the dark hallway that led to Lily's room. "Just don't panic," she said, forcing a smile. "It's never anything real." That was not the comforting sentence she thought it was. They left in a hurry. The house went quiet. I made myself a sandwich with their permission, scrolled social media, and occasionally checked the monitor app. The feed showed a small, pink bedroom with a white crib against the wall, a tiny form under a blanket, a nightlight glowing soft stars on the ceiling. Lily slept soundly. Around 10:30 p.m. the app chimed. Motion detected nursery. I tapped the screen. The video popped up. Lily was still in her crib, but she wasn't lying down anymore. She sat facing the wall, back to the camera. Her hair looked darker than before, almost black, falling over her shoulders, even though Mrs. Harper had said she was 3. "Hey, sweetheart," I said, holding the phone closer to my mouth. "It's Zoe, you okay?" No reaction. She didn't move at all. Didn't swing her legs, didn't turn her head. I frowned. The image felt off. The colors were slightly wrong, too gray, like an old film filter. I remembered Mrs. Harper's warning. If you see anything strange, lock the app and reopen it. I did. The app closed. When I opened it again, the feed showed Lily lying down, her blanket up to her chin, breathing slowly. Probably just a glitch, I told myself. At 11:02 p.m. another notification. Sound detected nursery. I opened the app. The crib was empty. The sheet was smooth, as if no one had ever been there. I froze. On the far side of the room, near the window, something shifted in the shadows. A small shape, the size of a toddler. "Lily," I whispered into the mic. "Go back to bed, sweetie." The shape didn't move. The room's door was closed. The camera's angle showed the whole space. There was nowhere for a child to hide. I stared for a full minute. No movement. I locked the app. My hand shook as I reopened it. Lily was in the crib again, turned onto her side, thumb near her mouth. I put the phone down and walked to the bottom of the stairs, listening. Nothing. No footsteps, no voices, just the quiet hum of the fridge. "You're freaking yourself out," I told myself. At 11:37 p.m. the app chimed 3 times in a row. Motion detected. Sound detected. Face detected. My stomach knotted. I opened the feed. The camera now pointed directly at the ceiling. That shouldn't be possible. The camera was fixed high in the corner. I'd seen it earlier when they gave me the tour. A shadow passed across the view, slow and smooth, blocking the nightlight stars. Then the screen flickered and the image changed. I saw a room, not the nursery. This room had cracked blue walls with paint peeling in strips. A dirty mattress on the floor. A single bare bulb hanging from the ceiling, swinging as if someone had just brushed past it. In the bottom corner of the screen, the word still said "Nursery, Live." "Okay, that's not funny," I whispered. I tried locking and reopening the app. The same room appeared. The bulb stopped swinging. The picture steadied movement in the corner. Something small crouched facing the wall, dark hair covering its face, thin arms, bare feet. I turned the volume up. The tiniest sound came through, not crying, not talking, humming, a slow, tuneless hum. "Lily," I said into the mic, my voice shaking. "Can you hear me?" The humming stopped. Slowly, the small figure started to turn. I didn't wait to see the face. I closed the app completely, returned to the home screen, and ran up the stairs. I had to check with my own eyes, the hallway to the nurse. Rye felt longer than before. The nightlight in the plug glowed pale blue, casting long shadows. I pushed the door open. Lily slept in her crib. Real Lily, tiny, blonde curls, soft breath. The room was exactly as in the original feed, pink walls, stuffed animals, and a star projector on the ceiling. No peeling paint, no mattress on the floor, no bare bulb. I stood there for a long time, hand on the crib rail, just watching her chest rise and fall. As I turned to leave, something on the wall beside the door caught my eye, a faint, small mark. It resembled a dirty handprint at the height of a toddler. I told myself it had always been there. Back downstairs, I tried to tell myself to relax, to think logically. Maybe the app had pulled a sample feed from another camera somewhere. Maybe it was a bug, a test environment, anything but what it looked like. At exactly midnight, the phone buzzed again. This time, no notification. The app opened on its own. The video didn't show the nursery. It showed the living room. "This is my living room." The couch was from a thrift store. Same crooked poster. Same chipped coffee table. The image swayed like someone was holding the camera in their hands, slowly walking toward the couch. Someone sat there, me. On the screen, I watched myself on the Harper's couch, staring down at the phone. My hair fell around my face. My shoulders were tense. The version of me in the video didn't look up, even though I wanted her to. "Stop," I whispered. "Stop, stop." The view moved closer, creeping up behind my couch. The top of my head filled the bottom of the frame. A hand, pale and small, entered from the corner of the screen, reaching out to touch my shoulder. Cold fingers brushed my actual shoulder. I screamed and dropped the phone. It hit the floor and the screen went black. I felt a tingling sensation in my shoulder, even though nothing was visibly touching it. I grabbed my bag and my jacket and ran upstairs again. Lily was still in her crib, still asleep. I wanted to grab her and run too, but I couldn't. They would call the police. I forced myself to leave her there and went back downstairs, heart racing. I sat by the front door until the Harpers came home. "How was she?" Mrs. Harper asked, slipping off her heels. "Fine," I croaked. "Slept all night. Any problems with the monitor?" She asked too quickly. I handed her the phone. "You might want to get it checked," I said. "The camera glitched." She swallowed. "Oh," she said softly, "it does that sometimes." Her eyes were too shiny, too tired, too familiar with fear. I never babysat for them again. I blocked the number and ignored her texts asking if I was free any upcoming weekends. The weirdest part didn't start until a week later. I woke up in the middle of the night in my apartment. My phone screen was glowing beside my pillow. An app I had never installed was open. A live video feed, title at the top. Nursery Live. The camera gazed into a dark, cracked blue room. A bare bulb, a stained mattress in the far corner, something small crouched facing the wall, humming. I went to my door to leave, to go anywhere else, but the hallway outside my apartment smelt like their house. And as I stood there shaking, the humming stopped. My phone buzzed in my hand as the on-screen view slowly turned, and a child's voice, close, too close, whispered through the speaker, "Don't lock the app this time, Zoe. He doesn't like when you do that."